Okay, let's get started. We've got non-agenda public testimony. I'd like to call up Camille Zombro, Bill Freeman, Kathleen Gallagher, Corey Mira, Judd Aguilar, and Leandra Crane.
Good afternoon. I'm Camille Zombro, President of the San Diego outgoing President of the San Diego Education Association. I'm joined by our President-elect, Bill Freeman. We're passing out a packet to you with a bunch of numbers in it, but those aren't numbers. Those are people. Those are the people who chose their dedication to children as a career, and those are your SDEA bargaining unit members. The district often asks for our analysis of numbers. We're reluctant to do so because every time we squeeze in one area, something squishes out somewhere else. The numbers constantly change and are notoriously untrustworthy. But based on our analysis, nonetheless, of your numbers, which we don't entirely trust, it's clear to us that you have an HR problem, not a money problem, when it comes to staffing in our unit. There's both an opportunity cost and a human cost, but it's critical that the district weigh both the opportunity and the human cost against the fact that there's really nothing to risk by not laying off our unit members. On the first page, you see a bar graph that represents the SDEA bargaining unit, your certificated staff members. And we recognize the district has about a $16.9 million hole, which you are right now planning to fill with, among other things, about 237 SDEA bargaining unit members. If you go to the next page, though, if we believe that you have a $237 million or 37 position hole, and you add up the fact that the district is already planning to cut all 363 temporary contract teachers, many of whom have been dedicated to their schools for 5 to 6 years or more, add to that the 120 projected losses in terms of just normal attrition, and the 237 layoffs, the district is planning to fill, again, a 237 position hole with 720 FTEs. That alone doesn't make sense. If you go on to the third page and look at the gray boxes, again, if you're looking at 237 positions to eliminate, the other gray box shows you how many anticipated vacancies. So if you intend to eliminate 237 positions, and you have 483 anticipated vacancies, there's no need for layoff notices to be issued. What's interesting, though, again, noting that you have an HR problem, not a financial problem, that the district is choosing to add 250 people in excess to your 237 positions, something which baffles us and everyone who looks at this graph. We're not sure why excessing, which is never considered a financial liability, is being added to your projected layoffs. But okay, if we take you at your word on that, it's 487 positions, but you have 483 projected vacancies, which means the maximum number under this scenario, the folks you would have to RIF, is 4. Again, going back to the theme of you have an HR problem, not a finance problem, if you look on the last page, late yesterday afternoon, after weeks of requests, we received this list of positions the district intends to lay off. And you'll note, if you go to the bottom, it says special education mild to moderate 39. You realize that last year the district just spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to take existing educators and send them through credentialing programs so that they could become, you guessed it, special ed mild to moderate teachers. How many were in that program? 38. In addition, you have 26 biology teachers. Aren't science and special ed notoriously high-need areas? So fully a quarter of the positions you project to lay off are in high-need areas. Now, that's not in terms of relative value of bargaining unit members. That's in terms of your ability to recruit and retain. An HR problem should not equate to more unnecessary pain, more strife, or more costly disruptions. Bill Freeman's going to talk to you about the human cost.
Good afternoon. I'm Bill Freeman. I'm a third grade teacher at Porter Elementary. I'm also the president-elect of SDEA. I want to talk to you about the numbers that Camille just went over. I just want to tell you that there are names attached to those numbers. I think this affords the district to do the right thing. It affords the district the opportunity to show parents that they care about their students, to show students that we care about the consistency that we have and the people that's standing before them. We have an opportunity to show the teachers, the educators, that we care about their profession. Having said that, I want to read a letter, and I'll read it in part, that I received from a teacher that I had spoken to about a month, maybe 2 months ago, that was thinking about getting out of the teaching profession at that time because of the 8% pay cut. And I will skip a lot of it because a lot of it doesn't pertain to this. But it says, "Thanks for the advice that you gave me on teaching as a career. I'm sorry to tell you that I decided to accept the United States Air Force Health Profession Scholarship Program for the nursing school. I feel so bad about leaving my students. However, I need some security in my life. It seems that every year there is some decision made for teachers affecting their employment that's outside of their control. I have never heard of nurses being laid off. I just want a secure job. I really trust you, but after teaching for 4 years, nothing has changed. My students did great on the CST. I spend long hours in my classroom and at home working on classroom work. Yet, I'm sweating my job because someone couldn't manage their budget. It angers me to be pushed out of a profession that I truly love. I am so concerned about the direction of our country. We bailed out banks, auto, and airline industry, but the most important aspect of this country is being neglected. The young leaders of this country have been forgotten. Is there anyone thinking of them? I really appreciate your hard work for doing the right thing. Thank you very much for your leadership. We have an opportunity to show the educators that we are doing the right thing. We have an opportunity to show all these students, all the students in San Diego Unified, that we are doing the right thing. I think that those numbers speak for themselves, and you don't have to be a mathematician to figure them out. There is not a need to cut. There is not a need to fear teachers. Think about receiving a pink slip and then going standing before class, teaching a class as though you would teach it if you had not received that. Teachers are people. They are not just number. I urge you to reconsider that. Thank you.
Good evening, Superintendent Koba and members of the Board of Education. My name is Kathleen Gallagher. I'm the Vice Principal at Bell Middle School. And we came here tonight because we have some important information that we wanted to share with you about a program called AYD, Academic Youth Development. And I'd like to begin by having my co-presenters introduce themselves quickly.
My name is Joshua King, and I'm an 8th grader at Bell Middle School. Last year, I had a D in pre-algebra. This year, I'm taking algebra readiness, and I have a C. I feel that it is important to have and to keep an AYD program so more kids like me can learn in this way. The AYD method teaches you how to have self-confidence and how to be a leader. This program is not like all the other programs because it's your choice, and that alone is very strong to me. Students don't want to feel like they are all in a jail cell, so that's really how I feel in some of my regular classes. AYD is like a playground for students who don't want to be in school because you learn and have fun at the same time. You learn about math and neuroscience and how to become a responsible young student. Honestly, if we didn't have AYD, I would be very disappointed in myself because I would have passed or I would not have learned the things I know today. Thanks for AYD.
AYD provides 4 weeks of intensive instruction to reverse the slide from academic failure in mathematics. And at Bell Middle School, we are striving to close this achievement gap. And although many programs do say that they are closing the achievement gap, it is evident alone that it's not only a program that makes this happen, it's takes the passion of educators and the self-empowerment of the student. And part of that self-empowerment is knowing about yourself, and the self in thinking has to do with the brain, and that's what AYD does. It helps them ignite that motivation within themselves.
My name is Chantal Doran. I am an 8th grader at Bell Middle School. Last year I had a D in pre-algebra. This year I'm taking advanced algebra and I have a B.
My name is Diego Saldivar. I am an 8th grader at Bell Middle School. Last year I had a C in pre-algebra. This year I'm taking Algebra 1 and earning a B.
My name is Shukri Mohammed. I'm an 8th grader at Bell Middle School. Last year I had a B- in pre-algebra. This year I'm taking honors algebra and I have a B+.
My name is Jovan Latuli, and I'm in the 8th grade at Bell Middle School. Last year I had a B in pre-algebra, and this year I'm taking advanced algebra, and I have a B.
Good afternoon. My name is Stella Delgadillo, and I'm a supporter here with Bell Junior High and the AYD program, and I'm a parent.
We just want to provide a little bit of background information about AYD. Last summer, 5 middle schools, Bell, Mann, Montgomery, Stanley, and Wagenheim, had the opportunity to implement AYD at their sites. We really didn't have any information about it, but we were given the information at the last minute and asked to identify 2 teachers and 20 students at each of our sites who would benefit from this program. We were looking for students who had potential in mathematics, but their ability was not necessarily reflected in their grades or their test scores. In other words, they had pretty much checked out of caring about doing well, and although they're very smart and capable, they weren't achieving at a level consistent with their ability.
The program includes a web-based instructional sequence that emphasizes contextualized problems that are interesting and make sense to middle school students, utilizing their knowledge of pre-algebra. Because it is web-based, it is continually being updated and improved. The online program was very helpful. It taught us how to do the math problems and then gave us more problems to do on our own. While doing the problems, I could remember learning them in 7th grade and having trouble with them. The program made it really easy to understand. Also, since the program was online, it was easy to access at home. Another good thing about the program was that it didn't expire until a couple of days before school started. So every day I would go to the computer and study for 8th grade algebra. If I didn't have this program at AYD, I wouldn't have a B in advanced algebra. In addition to the project-based learning, a major component of the program includes leadership development and lessons in neuroscience. The leadership component fosters students' confidence. Students are taught the value of active participation and strong self-advocacy skills. The neuroscience component helps students understand the value of struggling with difficult problems and the impact that it has on brain development.
Kathleen, we're going to have to give you about a minute. We're going to have to wrap it up.
Okay, I'm going to let the students speak then.
Okay.
One of the web-based programs we had to do a CSI in forensic science. This program helped us a lot because you had to use your brain and think a lot. It was like a puzzle, so you had to think hard and carefully. We also worked in groups, meaning we had to help each other out and work as a team. I really enjoyed this because it had to do with math and science, and it was fun trying to figure out mysteries.
As a student, I have found this program very helpful and I have benefited from it. Everything we did in that program has had a good effect on me. Probably the most interesting part to me was when we learned about the brain. I learned that every time we learn something new, we grow a new stem in our brain, which makes us smarter. This made me think that everybody is capable of learning new stuff. It made me finally see how important challenges are. For example, math problems and math in general. Whenever I come to a challenging problem or concept, I think back to what I learned about the brain. It makes me want to solve that problem. To me, this knowledge of the brain is important for everyone to know. I think AYD should be continued because everyone should know the importance of the brain and challenges, and the students also learn other important concepts like leadership and motivation. That is why I think AYD should be continued.
Thanks. We'll have to ask you guys to end there. Yeah. Do we have one more? We'll give you one minute.
Very
yeah.
short.
Go ahead. Yes.
Strategically placing them in groups of 5 or more. This is important because students often need to learn how to have good attitudes and behaviors. For example, I learned to have a better attitude in this program by respecting others. This made other people respect me, which led to better teamwork. Teamwork is important because it helps develop social skills, and it makes problem solving easier because you have more than one idea about how to solve it. I think that AYD helped us by teaching us about how to be more serious and confident about getting better grades. If we didn't go to AYD, we wouldn't be as successful as we were in algebra as we are now. I recommend that you let as many 7th graders as possible participate in AYD.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. That was a great job.
Thank you for your time and consideration.
Okay, Corey Mira, Judd Aguilar, and Leandra Crane.
Good evening. My name's Corey Mira. We were told that we were going to be speaking right before Pat Hom's presentation. Do you want us now, or would you like us? She's during Mr. DeBeck's time.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
We're part of that group.
Yeah.
Would you like us to wait?
Yeah, why don't you wait until that time then? That's great. So that's all 3 of you?
Yes.
Judd.
And Andrew Hollenbeck. Andrew Hollenbeck.
Okay. On the blue sheet, yeah. Okay. Great. Well, that concludes public testimony. So why don't we go ahead and call this meeting to order, and we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Let's call down the Navy JROTC Color Guard from Patrick Henry High School. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And that was the JROTC from Patrick Henry. Please be seated. Okay, I'd like to welcome everyone present today and those watching the broadcast and call the April 13th, 2010 regular meeting to order with all board members present. If you wish to address the board today and your name is not on the blue sheet located at both entrances to the auditorium and you've not already submitted a request for public testimony form, please complete the form and submit it to Ms. Ward. Speakers on agenda items will be called on to speak during the discussion of the item. Non-agenda item testimony was heard at 5 p.m. and will also be heard at the end of the meeting. At this time, I'd like the ASB student representatives to the board to introduce themselves. Please tell us about yourself, what's going on at your school, both academically and socially. We have Donna Du, the ASB president from Sarah High School, and Vince Gamina from La Jolla High School. Donna, do you want to?
Hi, my name is Donna Du. I'm the ASB president from Sarah High School. I'm a senior, and right now we are welcoming WASC, the Western Association of Schools and Colleges, to our school for another day. And we're working on a talent show and our STAR pep rally to get the students excited for STAR testing.
All right, thanks, Tom.
All right. Hi, I'm Vince from La Jolla High School. Right now, we are in Multicultural Week, and so we started off the week with music on Monday. We played music from all different types of cultures. Today, we had an art showcase from all of the different art departments in our school at lunch for students to view art. Tomorrow is a half day, so we don't have anything planned for that, but on Thursday, we're going to have dancers. We're going to have Irish dancing at lunch. And then we're going to wrap it up on Friday with the Multicultural Food Fair. And it's a chance for all of the different clubs to sell all types of food at lunch, anything. And then the money from them goes to that they make goes to their cause. So it's going to be all different types of food and drinks, and it'll be a lot of fun. Our first annual career fair is on this Thursday, periods 2 and 3. And so we've invited representatives from all different businesses and careers to join in. It's in our big auditorium, and we have people from all different fields talking to students, and they can go around and ask them questions. And so it's a good opportunity for them. And then lastly, our dodgeball tournament starts next week at lunch, and that's a fun thing to bring up school spirit, so that'll be fun.
Vince, if you can dodge a wrench,
you can dodge a ball.
That's right. Just wanted to check. Good. Thanks, guys. Okay, now we've got a really exciting presentation. Ms. Jackson.
Well, I'm going to ask the interim superintendent and the board members to join me at the podium. We're going to recognize Lincoln High School, which is the second division basketball champ. Oh, they're in there? Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. Mr. Kobe, you can call them up, and gentlemen, you can stand up there in the center, and we'll take a picture afterwards.
Okay. First, Javante Bird.
No, this way, young man up there. Got to step there the whole time. Yeah.
Kevin Smith. Well done. Well done.
Congratulations.
Rayson Swinson. Norman Powell. Terrell Robinson. Anthony Cherry. Kendall Kirkland. Andre Cherry. Andre, well done. Joshua Smith. Deion Jones. Tyree Robinson. Victor Dean. Congratulations. Nathan Maxey. Sheldon Martin. Terrence Morgan. Okay. Jason Bryant.
Thank you, Coach.
Well done.
Thank you.
Brittany Jenkins. Brittany Lyles.
Okay.
Earl Woolridge. Congratulations. Well done. Jeff Harper. Mark McCann. Glenn Worley. Rhett Butler. Anthony Tucker. Victor Dean. Okay.
All right, let's look at our picture.
All right, if you can't see me, raise your hand. Everybody can see me? Okay, well, how about this? We can take a picture here. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, one more here. 1, 2, 3. There we go.
Whoa. Here we are.
Okay, and I guess for local purposes, the Lincoln High School basketball team was the state second division championships. They're also the only school that has made history of doing it twice. They've won this twice, and they're the only school that have done that. And then Mel Collins, the principal, was here somewhere. I saw you, Mel, so I'm going to try to hide. But he was here. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. DeBeck, for allowing me to do this presentation tonight. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Jackson, and congratulations, Lincoln High. Okay, we'll move on to item C, report of closed session actions, and the superintendent's administrative information report. Superintendent Koba.
Thank you, President Barrera. We have one administrative assignment announcement. In session, the board voted to accept the resignation agreement with the Chief Financial Officer. I'd like to proceed with CO2, the Superintendent Information Report.
Yeah.
A number of items. First and foremost, talk about April the 4th was a Sunday. It was when a 7.2 earthquake was emanating from Baja California. I want to bring that up for a couple of reasons associated with safety and security. As soon as possible after that natural event, we had the district property, 200 properties over 200 square miles inspected. Best we could tell, there were only a couple of minor incidents, and we're not absolutely certain that they were promulgated by the earthquake because of the size and aging of the property, but some damaged water pipes at Mission Bay High School and some structural deterioration at Chesterton Elementary Library. Clearly, we need to continue to focus on natural disasters just by the virtue of where we live and where our school district is focused. We have made the repairs to those two facilities as soon as possible. It does serve, though, as a reminder to all of us that we have to require that schools on a routine basis practice the emergency drills, make sure they have a safety plan and evacuation schema for taking care of students, staff, and parents that may be visiting on the campus. And of note, we have participated, San Diego Unified School District, in the last two statewide Great California Shakeouts. They typically happen in the fall with some 7 million participants involved, and it's important that we continue to be ready. Next item I want to bring up is yesterday the Cabinet was participating in our second, what I would call, race relations, diversity, cultural awareness training. We are on a schedule to have 4 of these. Ajin Shahid's race relations team has done a very nice job of focusing the Cabinet. Yesterday, dealing with the issue of cultural artifacts, the village voice of students and the campus. I bring this to our attention because it's critical that the Cabinet and all of our leadership and all of our personnel continue to focus on the diversity of this large urban school district and our multicultural needs. Sessions 3 and 4 are coming in the months that follow, and we'll work very closely with Ajin on that. Next item, I met with the GATE advisory group yesterday, about 40 of the parents from across the district, and I thought it was a very good session, one that I updated them on where we are with various issues, and it was also their opportunity to remind me and to pass a message on to the board as well about the importance of this program for 25,000 children across the district, 19,000 of them in cluster, and another 6,000 in seminar work settings and teaching and educational settings. And I agreed that I would bring that forward, and I also stressed the fact that we need to have balance across all of our programs to make sure that we are successful for kids. The very last thing is this week is one of discussions with both the Crawford principals and the San Diego High Complex principals. We are in an ongoing dialogue, community-based, campus-based discussion of restructuring for those schools as appropriate, looking both at school-specific and campus-wide considerations. And the intent there is to come to the board and to the public at large with some strategies sometime in late, or I should say early May. But right now it's a check-in between myself and the campus leadership. And the campus leadership is working with staff, students, parents, and other community-interested parties to come together with these restructurings. And that's all I have.
Great. Thank you, Superintendent Koba. Okay, can we get a motion to adopt the agenda? Okay, please vote. Okay, great. Okay, can we get a motion, item EO1, to approve the minutes for the special February 16th meeting? Please vote. Can we get a motion to adopt EO2?
Second.
Please vote. Okay, information reports from the board. Why don't we start with Mr. DeBeck?
Well, I'm going to pass until the FO2.
Okay.
Just to move on.
Okay, great. Ms. Jackson?
Yes, I had an opportunity to visit a couple of schools. I was at SCPA and heard a wonderful classroom discussion about religion. It was quite interesting. I also was at Scripps Ranch High yesterday. They were reviewing their data with their staff during their staff development time. And I had the wonderful opportunity of going to the library essay competition. And what was so impressive there was the fact that the students had written essays, but one student, the question was, if you could only keep one book, what would it be? And there were some great students there with great ideas, but one student kept the dictionary. And he was, when he finished talking about the dictionary, I went home and dusted mine off a little bit because he was so impressive. But again, I want to congratulate all of those students who participated in that. And then last but not least, we held our superintendent town hall superintendent search town hall meeting at Porter this past week, and I thank the women for joining us at Porter. It was a lively discussion, and I think the communities are ready to give lots of input for our next superintendent. So thank you very much.
Ms. Nakamura?
Not Dr. Evans.
Okay, Dr. Evans.
Thank you. Yesterday I was able to begin the process of the volunteer program we're doing, Power Up, which is meeting with third graders for a period of 6 weeks. And I was able to meet with a couple of third graders at Whitman Elementary. And I think this is a great opportunity both for board members, other people on the staff, and people throughout the community to spend an intense period of just once or twice a week for 6 weeks with one student to help their reading in third grade. So I hope a lot more people get involved in that. And then, as Ms. Jackson said, they had their superintendent search town hall in District A. We will be having our superintendent search town hall meeting tomorrow night, Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. at University City High School. Everyone in the city is invited to it, or any of the other ones that we're going to have coming up. And the purpose of this is really twofold. One is to go over what are the long-term plans of the district so that we're really clear on what we're trying to accomplish in the district, what the board has presented, and what the public thinks. And the second item that the public will be able to comment on are the requirements that we want for the superintendent that we are searching for. Last November and December, we had town hall meetings about the budget. We did listen very carefully to what people had to say. Even in very difficult budget times, one of the key priorities that came out of those meetings, among other things, was maintaining class size, not increasing class size further than they are. And that is one thing that we were able to accomplish in the budget when we heard that that's what mattered to people. So I want people to really know that what they say at these meetings in terms of our long-term plans and in terms of our superintendent search, your opinions really do matter, and I hope we have a really good turnout tomorrow night, 6:30 at University City High School.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'd like to chime in as far as the superintendent search town hall meeting. It was a significant group of people, and it was good to hear everyone's voices. And I'm looking forward to the ones as we continue to move forward with this. And I hope people will really make an effort to come out. One concern I have is actually the person that was taking notes for my particular group. Really brought home to me after, as many years on the board as I've been, that we have a lot of terms of art within education, and sometimes that didn't get translated, and the person who was speaking would say something, and then the real intent of it would not be captured because the person would use their own interpretation, and it wasn't the jargon that it holds so much meaning and has so much weight. So we might want to give some consideration to that during the next town hall meeting. I think that it's important to capture people's actual intent. And the incident, the particular one I'm thinking of was a teacher who, really wanted somebody with professional development that would value professional development for teachers. And despite however many times she tried to say, and she kept saying professional development, it got interpreted all sorts of different ways up on that pad. But I knew that the term of art that she wanted and what was important to her, so we got it settled. But we might consider having someone else taking the notes. I think it's really important to capture what people really do mean and what they actually say. So with that, speaking of what people really do mean and actually say, it is I'm going to ask a couple of people to come forward. The Board of Education for the San Diego Unified School District was asked actually to send someone up to speak at the Education Budget Committee meeting, which is pretty intimidating. This is the assembly up in Sacramento, and we weren't able to go. We had a board meeting that day, and so I'm very proud to say that because of the participation this last February on the Sacramento Safari, where the Board of Education and the district, I should say, administration, worked with the PTA to try and drum up and get as many people up to Sacramento for a legislative action committee from the PTA. We did some training with them, and they did such a fabulous job then that when the call came for us to send someone up to the budget committee for the education committee, we thought of the PTA because they did such a fabulous job. And so Michelle Huffaker came up went up to Sacramento, and she was the only parent up there. And I imagine I'm going to have Laura Schumacher, who is the president of the PTA for the entire San Diego Unified School District, come up and speak. But just in case she doesn't mention it, I just want to say that Michelle was actually asked if she would consider a gig talking up and down the state of California on behalf. She did such a fabulous job. But I'd like Laura Schumacher, the president of the PTA, to introduce Michelle, because Michelle won't give all of her credentials, and I'm sure Laura can set the table better than I have. Thank you.
Yes, we were honored that you thought to call on us to go up to Sacramento. That's part of our mission, is to be a voice for kids. And I immediately thought of Michelle because she had just recently attended the Sacramento Safari and Ledge Conference. She immediately agreed to go, took off a day of work without a lot of notice. And although I didn't go, I was able to watch her testimony on the online, and she did a fantastic job talking about how the budget cuts are affecting San Diego Unified. At the end of it all, the chair of the committee asked her if she could go on the road and go all over California talking about the budget cuts. But I'm going to turn it over to Michelle.
Thank you. I'm short. Can I do this? Sorry. Thank you very much. Actually, I wanted to thank the board because you guys have done an amazing job with outreach to not just PTA but to the community with all of these town hall meetings and the cluster meetings. I think that you're doing a fabulous job getting out there and really hearing the people and also educating us about what's going on for you and how it affects our kids. I think also that you should be commended for keeping cuts as far away from the children as possible. I know that everybody wants what's best for kids, and I know that you have limited resources for that. What I didn't realize until I went to the legislative conference in February in Sacramento was how fortunate we really are because we've been able to really keep the cuts as far away from the kids as possible. Now, going forward, I think that it's going to be a very dire situation indeed. But I learned that some districts will, for example, Oceanside is looking at 30-1 for elementary school and 45-1 ratios for next year. I've heard parents that have been paying for high school athletics and busing for decades, parents who have exorbitant parcel taxes to help pay for the educations that their children receive. And I think that you guys have done a really amazing job with what you've been dealt these past couple of years. I also want to thank you for inviting me, or the PTA, to be able to testify on behalf of kids. I do think that I was in an enviable position in that I was a parent there, so they had to be nice to me. I think that what I managed to say. First of all, I had heard Superintendent Koba speak recently about teamwork. And back in November, when Ms. Nakamura came to our PTA General Association meeting, what she stressed was, if we wait till May, when we find out what the May revise is, we've waited too long. And so I think she really impressed upon us that we really need to take action now. Then I heard Mr. Koba speak about how we are a team, and I really do feel like we are a team. I know teachers have the best interests at heart. I know that the board has the best interests of kids at heart. I don't think that you take this job because it's easy. I think that we do, parents definitely have, a big stake in what happens to our kids, but we all do. And so going up to Sacramento, I realized that we are here to work together, and really, what can you do at this level if we all just come here and fight for our different programs like GATE, like high school athletics, like busing, like programs like AYD, which sounds like an amazing program. If we don't have the resources, what are we going to do? So that's when I thought, we really do have to get our voices heard in Sacramento. And so I was very honored to be able to go up there and testify and explain to them that when they defer $200 million in funding to our district, it hurts. When they take a $2.4 billion cut to education and put it in the budget, it's going to hurt. And if they're looking at even more cuts, if they don't get even more of the federal money that the governor proposed. So I was very happy to be able to say, cut it out. That they really need to stop proposing cuts that hurts kids. And particularly as PTA, we are interested in the whole child. We don't want cuts to health and human services. We don't want kids coming to school hungry. We don't want them to miss school because they're sick or they have dental problems. We want them to fund education, and we want them to not cut other programs to do it. That we want them to protect kids, because kids are our future leaders. I think that pretty much clarifies what my intent was there, and I think that I did a pretty decent job of getting that across. I think, like I said, I had the advantage of being a parent and a volunteer there, but the message that I took away from it was that the legislators really need to hear what parents are feeling at the school level, because what I heard them say was, we hear numbers, we hear big numbers, it's very abstract, and until you hear how it affects at the school level, then you really don't get a sense of it. And so I think I'm on a mission to keep informing parents that we need to continue to press our legislators to not add a dime to the cuts to the budget, but instead take the $2.4 billion in cuts out of the budget and start paying districts back. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. And just building on that, our next big step here locally in San Diego is our May 8th rally. So just want to remind everybody, May 8th at 10 a.m. at Balboa Park. The planning of the Educate for the Future group, students and parents and teachers and principals and community leaders who are putting this together is intensifying. But we really need everybody to get there, get everybody there. We need to have a giant statement on May 8th at Balboa Park. And thank you again, Michelle, for getting up to Sacramento for us. Terrific. Thank you. Okay, let's move on to item FO2. Mr. DeBeck.
Yes. Thank you. I'm going to talk while I hope that Pat gets a chance to get her. Is there material up and she can tell you when from the podium?
I'm sorry, I can't resist.
All coordinated. Okay, well, I've long believed in
point of order. Dr. Evans and I have a point of order. We can't resist because you are usually our parliamentarian. And this item doesn't tell us exactly what it is that you're talking about. How's the community supposed to know?
Well, it's a community report.
But if somebody wanted to come down and talk about this community, we don't know what it is.
That's fine. That's what they. Well, what do you want? You want to not do it?
Yeah, no, go ahead, Mr. DeBeck. I think they want to needle you. So,
that's fine.
So go ahead.
We'll tell you everything you need to know.
I'm trying to get to a point on this, and maybe if you'll hear me out, you'll understand. I've long believed that the school community of interest is the high school cluster and its feeder schools. And recently the board has accepted the concept and has worked, in fact, as early as a couple of meetings ago to talk about the Point Loma cluster and maybe some input on the budgets from there. So in talking with the emerging leadership in District C, and there's a lot of cluster activity in District C, I ran into something that I thought was a problem. And that is, while we're talking about clusters, we haven't come up with a way for the clusters to interface except the interface with individual board members. And I don't think that's really that productive, because the real issue for the cluster is, well, the board has to decide, so why shouldn't the board hear firsthand what the concerns are? So I don't think we've got a mechanical way to do this yet, but I certainly think that this is one possible way, is to take a board member's time to present a short 3 minutes. It's my time. Of course, it was on the information reports is when I asked for it to be, and it was put on as a separate item. I have no power over how you did the agenda. But the idea was, okay, the clusters have concerns. They represent them to the board member. The board member says, well, the board ought to hear about this, and they ought to hear directly from the people. And so therefore I asked Pat, who had a concern and represents the Mission Bay cluster, to come forward with a presentation, and I said 3 minutes, and let's make it short and quick and kind of get to the point.
Right. So
that's the idea of this. Okay. Now, the cluster idea goes back 10 years ago with Dale V. Hill and San Diego cluster and the Point Loma cluster were the first places this all happened. So it's something that's been done, but we still haven't got an interface with the board figured out, and that's what this was all about. Okay. So with your permission, what I'd like is to have Pat make her presentation, and anyone who wants to speak on it can do so, because it became an agenda item on its own.
Please, proceed. Go ahead.
Good evening, members of the board. Our group is here tonight to make everyone aware of the extremely unsafe field at Mission Bay High School. We know that you, as a board, have received dozens and dozens of letters from our Pacific Beach cluster from parents that are urging you to reverse your decision to move our field upgrade from 2014. The original date was this winter of 2010. We would like to see that reversed, and we are here to show you tonight concrete reasons why this needs to be done now and not in 4 years. Most of you know that our field is unsafe and in such poor condition that we could not even host a home CIF game, football game that our kids earned. Did you also know that non-league football teams will refuse to play on our field because of the extremely poor conditions? Did you know that non-league soccer teams also refuse to play on our field because of the poor conditions? Did you know that our track and field coach will not even host any events at Mission Bay High School because of the poor and unsafe conditions of our track? We have several athletes here tonight that are here to share their experiences with you being injured on our field from non-contact drills and what this has done to their athletic opportunities. We have 2 ex-football players here tonight. We have Judd Aguiar and Leandre Crane, and they're going to let you know what happened to them on our field. And we also have a parent, Andrea Hollenbeck, who, due to her situation, was unable to watch any of the games because of our antiquated field and bleacher situation. We have no handicapped access. So unfortunately, this means that anyone handicapped can't watch our game. Our bleachers are very low. If you sit at the bottom, you look at the backs of the athletes. Just in the past 3 years, the documented injuries, and that's documented only, alone are near 20. 7, which were so severe they required either surgery or hospitalization. Board members, we're not here tonight to whine and plead and beg and threaten lawsuits. We're here to make you understand how extremely important it is, for the sake of our children's health and well-being, to build Mission Bay High School the field, stadium that they deserve. We are obligated to provide a safe field to our students at Mission Bay High School, and this is a job that we take very seriously. Pat Hom is here tonight, and she's going to show you a short presentation and give you the history and the problems that we're facing on the field so that you can understand it. And last, on behalf of Mission Bay High School staff, students, faculty, we want to thank Mr. Markey and his team for showing a sense of urgency regarding this matter and their decision that our field at least needed resurfacing at the very least. We could not be more thrilled and thankful, but we still will continue to believe and fight that our student athletes at Mission Bay High School deserve a new turf stadium that we've been waiting for since Prop MM passed.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Judd Aguiar. I live on 4121 39th Street, San Diego, California. And I'm a student at Mission Bay High School because of the Magnet IB programs, and it is a very rigorous program. As well, I chose Mission Bay because of its sports programs. I'm also very involved in my community. I'm co-chairman of Mid-City Can Youth Council, as well as a program called Reality Changers that builds first-generation college students. So I'm here tonight to tell you guys about my experience on the Mission Bay football field. In 2007, I was an aspiring football player. I worked diligently during practice under the supervision of my coaches. And football is a very rigorous sport requiring hours of training and conditioning. On a fall afternoon, I was running a 40-yard dash, and I hit a divot in the field. We were always trying to dodge many of the divots on the field, but when your only goal is to finish fast, sometimes it's really hard to focus. When I fell down hard. I fell on my shoulder, and I also fractured my femur as well as tore my hamstring. And at the same time, I fractured my shoulder. My doctor ordered me to sit out not only for the rest of the season, but sports were off limits for me for 6 entire months. We checked out the doctor again, and the doctor suggested me to no longer play football due to my injuries. This is very devastating to me, and to this day I still haven't been able to go back onto the football field. Thank you.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Leandre Crane, and I am too a football player at Mission Bay High School. During the 2008 football season, I was practicing under supervision of my coaches on the Mission Bay football field. I was running a gasser and stepped into a divot on the field. This fall caused me to tear my meniscus and dislocate my knee. I was in bandages for about 7 months with reoccurring swelling, thus ending my football season. This was very upsetting to me. Not only is football a sport I enjoy, but I learned so much from my coaches and my teammates, which was greatly missed. The doctor prescribed 6 months of physical therapy, and I was not allowed to play football for at least 1 year. My sophomore year was ruined without football. This could have all been avoided if the field had been properly taken care of and repaired. I have watched many of my teammates get injured from doing basic running drills on this field. It is unsafe and a waste of great talent and needs to be fixed immediately. I am happy to hear our field is being resurfaced, and I want to thank the athletic department for this, but we need a turf field so this does not continue to happen in the future. Thank you.
My name is Andrea Hollenbeck, and I'm a parent of a former high school student at Mission Bay High School. Our youngest daughter attended all 4 years at Mission Bay, and she was a cheerleader. And I'm here to represent the students and parents and other individuals who require ADA access to high school events. And for all 4 years, I wanted to go watch her, and I did go, but I had to sit on the front lower seat right in front of the fence, and I could never really see her or take pictures. The bleachers do go up, but there's no railings, and especially in a high school crowd with people moving about fast and crowded, I didn't want to take the chance to go up any higher. And there are no ramps, so you can't use your scooter. And I don't use a wheelchair, I use an electric scooter, but you can't go on the field. It's not allowed to go on the field. And so there's just no way without ramps to safely use the facility. So I really think that we need to make this ADA accessible and not wait another 5 years. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to go fast on these slides. Okay, that's the first one. That was our homecoming game. That's pretty cool, huh? That was our press box. Anyway, we can go to the next one. This is the history of the press box project, and one of the questions that was asked of me was, when did you identify this as a need for your school? And the answer is September of 2004. Tom Yount, our current principal at that time, came to the Friends of Pacific Beach Secondary School board meeting and presented us the Buck Field vision. And that was a goal to redo the whole stadium. And he came to us for fundraising options. So that was the very first time that the Buck vision was brought forward. You have packets with all of this timeline and all of the supporting documentation that goes along with it, so you can read that on your own. I don't need to identify it. However, the important time is that in 2007, San Diego Unified School District came out and condemned our press box and tore it down. Done, gone. Friends of PB Secondary Schools wrote for a grant for $25,000, which we received. $15,000 of that came over to the San Diego Unified School District to pay for architectural fees for that press box that to this day has never been built. That money is now gone. Let's go on to the next slide. Thank you. Okay, this is your district facilities assessment of Mission Bay High School. In this assessment, it is identified by an outside service that the athletic fields are inadequate and unsafe. Need new turf field, new track, press box, snack bar, bleachers on both sides of field to alleviate safety issues. This is a report for you. I don't need to tell you. Next slide, please. Thank you. Prop S, this was your presentation to the PTAs, showing facility condition indexes, 10% being poor. Mission Bay comes in at 16%. That's not uncommon with other schools in our district, and I don't mean to put myself ahead of anyone else. However, that's not so good, and there you have it. Next slide, please. Prop S, this is our update. This is where we're pushing the project back to 2015. So it's identified no 4 is in need, and now we're going to wait to 2015 to get a new stadium when we have issues. Let's go to the next slide. This shows you our demographics, and I think this is important because we get lumped in with our neighbors to the north and the south, that we are part of the haves, and we really aren't. We're part of the have-nots. And our school is doing a fine job of servicing the have-nots. And you can see that our free and reduced lunch is now, I think, around 70%. So we are addressing the needs of all students. We have worked very hard to be a good school. We've got the IB program going. Thank you very much for supporting that. This board has been extremely supportive in all of the improvements we've had at Mission Bay, and we thank you dearly for that. We are working so hard. But you'll also see that CIF, the general rules, they do not allow us to host a CIF game. We cannot have a scissor lift as a press box. So we have to go pay $3,000 to another site to have a football game when we're the host. And we usually are because our football team's pretty good. We also are unable to host any track and field events. However, we're competitive, and that's the point. If we were not a competitive school athletically, that wouldn't be an issue. But we are. We produce good students every year. Is it okay? I'm sorry. I have a couple more. The next slide. That's our neighbor to the north. Next slide. Hoover, that we identify more with them demographically. That's their field. Next slide, please. Our neighbor to the south. Mission Bay is the next slide. Mission Bay, woo, look at that. Okay, here's the thing, you guys. This is Google Earth. I did not doctor this photo. Came straight out of Google Earth thanks to Corey's mom. So next slide, please. Is that okay to have the next slide, or do you want me to end here? Okay, she's moving on. This was in February. Now, you have come out and you've addressed the issue of the divots on our field, and it's being resurfaced now, and we thank you very much for that. Thank you so much to Stu Markey and his team for coming out and doing that, Tom Beck and Drew Rollins and John DeBeck, who's been helping us. Next slide, please. Where to get the funds? We're not up here saying, you know what, give us something, guys. We actually have an idea here. Take that $20 million from the Scoobrary that may or may not happen. Pop that back into the construction fund, take $4 million out of that, and give Mission Bay High and Crawford their stadiums. Have you been out to Crawford? That's criminal as well. They really need it. And funds from the sale of property, that needs to go in site improvements. And there's, you'll see that in my Exhibit N. Chargers Champion School Grant. We are writing for this grant. We want to help the district help us. So we're going to write for that grant. Hopefully we'll get it. Next slide, please. And on the letters of support, you'll see those attached. Michaela Cervantes wasn't able to be here, but she wrote a nice letter, and you guys will see all that. So we're just here to say hello. We're here, and we thank you for letting us speak to you tonight.
Thank you. Mr. DeBack, anything?
No, it's pretty clear that they have an issue, and it's a lot easier to have them present it than to have me just say, "Oh, I'm just trying to grab something for my neighborhood." I think this is something that's pretty clear. They've been working on it for a long time. They're disappointed. They've seen some priority shifts that basically have caused a lot of angst over there, and I think they need to have a chance to say something here in front of the 5 board members that make the decisions, and not just in front of one board member who may be advocating for them but can't get it done by himself. So thank you for coming, folks, and we hope to see some changes.
Okay, thanks. Any board comments?
No.
No. Okay, great. Let's move on to...
Well, I'd like to voice support that I do think it's important. I've been out to look at the field myself, and it is absolutely a disaster. And I thought your Google Earth was inspired. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. Okay, item FO3, we need a motion to approve the annual work plan calendar.
So moved. Second.
Whatever.
All in favor?
Go for it. Yes. Okay.
Okay, and item FO4, the schedule of Board of Education meetings from July through December. Can we get
moved.
Is there any conflict with religious holidays or anything to do with furlough days or anything that are going to complicate this? I'd like to know about it now instead of just voting for it and then having to change it, although I know we change them. The other thing is that as long as we're talking about the calendars, I think that we ought to recognize that we haven't been following our calendars. We've just been sticking dates in, and I'd rather have us meet twice a month and have it definite than to have ad hoc meetings coming every so often, because I think a lot of us, including the community, need to plan on when to come down and talk. So, mixed agendas and mixed times are not open government to me. So,
okay, first of all, can we get a second to the motion?
I'll second it for point of discussion.
Okay.
And I just wanted to comment, I realize there are situations where we do call special meetings, but to me it's always a concern when for the months of November and December, which is really just as the school year has got going, we have a lot of stuff going on, then we only have one regular meeting scheduled in November and one regular meeting scheduled in December. And I realize that things will be going on budget-wise and everything else, and there will be extra meetings. However, I do believe, and I'm guessing that, what is the date of Thanksgiving?
It happens to fall on the fourth week in November. That's why you have the one meeting.
Last Tuesday in November.
Regular meetings are normally the second and fourth Tuesday.
So what I would propose, because I just don't think it's reasonable for 2 entire months to have only 2 regular meetings, would be to have the meeting on the 9th and to have a second meeting in November on the 30th, which is actually the 5th Tuesday. That keeps all the meetings scheduled 2 weeks apart, the 9th, the 30th, and then the 14th of December. I think that's more reasonable to carry out the business we need to carry out. So that wouldn't conflict with any holiday. I would just suggest adding on November 30th.
Okay, so you're amending the motion to...
Right, so that's my amendment, to approve the motion as long as we add on November 30th.
Okay, can we get a second to...
Sure, I'll second it.
Okay.
I'd rather have regular scheduled meetings than a whole bunch of special meetings, and if we're going to face having to do something, let's get them scheduled.
Right.
Okay, so can we vote on the amended motion?
Okay.
In favor? Okay, great. Okay, item FO5, let's get an update on the Superintendent Search Advisory
Committee. I think the process is you vote for amendment and then you vote for the motion as a whole, but if we all assume that's fine with me.
Yeah, that's
all right.
Pretty much assumed.
See there? I'm back to my...
There you go.
See, told you.
Yeah.
No, but it doesn't matter.
Okay, Mr. Reinerson.
This is really an opportunity for the board to get a brief update about your Superintendent Search Committee. What's before you tonight is an updated draft job description for the superintendent's position. This isn't a final, but it's what the committee spent about 4 meetings working on. A lot of investment in time, a lot of thought from your committee members. And it's before you as a draft so that we can post it on the website for applicants to be able to see what this position is all about. Tonight, I know Carol is here. Carol Hunter is a member of the committee. And do I have any other committee members here? Is Camille here? There's Camille, right? And Cindy is here. Cindy, maybe you want to come up and represent the committee. We decided behind your back to volunteer you for this job. And Cindy can give you an update directly from the committee rather than me as a staff member. But what we're asking for is the board to direct staff to be able to use this draft and let the committee continue their work. You got it.
Thank you. Thank you. So what you see there is the revised job description, and part of the work that we do as a committee is just making sure that we have all the voices of the committee members are heard when we work on something. And great discussion. We looked at superintendent job descriptions from across the country and looked at types of things that had been written in different large districts, large urbans, and small districts. One of the big things we added was a leadership profile. A big part of the existing job description that we looked at that was missing was there was no mention in the job description that we started with about student achievement or academic achievement. And so we thought as a committee, how can you say that you want to hire a superintendent and say the number one job isn't student achievement? So we tried to make sure that there's a lot in this job description, but the focus is children. And like one example was we changed a word for focus on supporting schools to the focus on supporting children. It's a slight difference in words, but we're putting the focus on children. And when we go out to the community and ask the community what they want, we ask the community, what do your children need, and what qualities does a superintendent need to have to meet those needs. So the aim and the focus of all 15 members on the committee has been a focus on what do our children need, and we hope that that job description that we revised as a group kind of shows that and shows where our commitment is to find a leader that's going to stand for children every single time. So I can answer any questions. I'm speaking for the people that are here too, but we are all in one voice as we put that together.
Well, my question, could you please share about the education? It looks like the master's is desired. Everything is desired. Nothing is required. So that means anybody off the street can come and apply, and it can all be waived. Is that the understanding of that?
There was quite a big discussion about that, and to allow the process to be as open as possible, to allow as many people to apply. When we put desired, that kept it open. And we want the feedback of the community to tell us, when the community says what type of leader will help meet the needs of the children. If we were to limit something right there in the job description from the start, we might limit a candidate that we could look at. So to put desired, we felt kept our options open.
Okay, because I guess my concern would be is that what you're saying is that the person that is going to be leading the second largest district in the state is not required to have any kind of secondary degree, master's.
We asked legal, and we asked about California Ed Code.
I'm just asking, is that the understanding that we're putting out there?
That could happen. Potentially that could happen by putting not required, putting desired in the way that's worded now. But that's just a recommendation coming from this advisory committee. You can change that.
Because this says motion tonight, so my question, I guess, is that it says this should be a motion to approve this. And if this is just an item that's out there for information, then I'm okay, it's an informational item. But if you're asking to make a motion to approve and to say that, I don't think I can only speak for me, but I wouldn't feel comfortable saying that we are not going to have someone that has, a master's or some type of degree, and that everything that academically they can have can be waived. For me, even the credentialing requirement can be waived. So I'm just asking the question of Bernie, because this says I don't understand if this is an action item or just an information item, maybe.
This is an action item. The HR department wants to be able to post this as part of the application process. and this is presented to you as a recommendation from your advisory committee, and certainly the board has the prerogative to make whatever changes, and then that would go back to the advisory committee, and we would say this has been approved by the board with this change. So that's certainly the prerogative of the board, but the HR department wants to be able to use this as part of the recruitment process, so your applicants have this information.
Okay, understand.
And we felt by leaving the word desirable in there that we gave you as a board options. In the end, you can make it required. When the way this process worked is we would present 7 candidates to you, and then you interview those 7 candidates, and then it gets down to 3. And if the requirement is there, then it's there for you.
I need to ask them for the agree.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Sure.
Hasn't been a motion made.
Okay. I really do want to focus on the education and experience part of this, and I understand the issue of not being specific, but I don't want to lull people into thinking that this school district doesn't care about the education of the people that we would employ to lead an educational institution. Just let's examine the case of a person with a BA degree getting the job and then having to hold the respect and understand the things like evaluation and the kind of specific things that I think this board would expect of their superintendent. So if somebody says, "Oh yeah, I'll apply," and I'm going to say it would clutter up the applications considerably because there are a lot of people out there with huge egos and low credentials. Okay. And so then we just go. I'm going to pass on that. Now I go to the next piece, which is it says the credential requirement can be waived. Well, that's true anyway. That's legal in the state of California. So then we go to an applicant must evidence a proven track record of innovative and effective leadership experience, including fiscal oversight experience in a small business or in a large. You see what I'm getting at? I'm getting at there needs to be somebody that has equivalent experience in a major enterprise. They may have invented something like that's patentable, that gets them a lot of money, and they may have proven that they were a good business person, but that doesn't mean they're going to be able to lead a school district.
May I help here?
Well, let me finish.
Mr. Beck?
So I'm basically going to say I can't approve this piece without some kind of representation of progressive, the kind of language you see in many of them, which is progressive experience in large institution and successfully managing budgets in the equivalent of, say, a few $1 million or more. Otherwise, if you balance your checkbook, you're eligible. I don't think that's right. Okay? So I'm going to say the education and experience section, in my opinion, is weak, and I won't vote for it the way it's written.
Ms. Nakamura, did you?
Well, I was going to say, I think the education and experience, it says at least 5 years experience in senior management of a large and complex organization. I would actually write comparable to a large culturally diverse urban school district. If you wanted to add a number in there, multi-million-dollar, I suppose that would be, and that'd be fine with me. I don't disagree that a master's degree in educational leadership, business management, or related field is required. That might fit the bill, and I don't have a problem with requiring that. I agree that I think a person. This is education, and I would hope that here, above all else, we would value educational credentials. So unless there is some legal no prohibition from our general counsel over there, I would change the word to required as well.
You're talking about the second paragraph?
Yeah, the first education and experience on page 3.
Yeah, and the second
master's degree, second sentence. And I would just say
you would change the word desirable to
required.
Okay.
So I make a motion that we make that amendment.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second.
Okay, so we vote on the amendment.
Well, yeah, let's vote on that amendment.
Well, let's just comment on that first.
Go ahead.
Okay.
First of all, I appreciate the work that you're doing, and I understand that you had a lot of discussion about these particular words and how to do this. And I think that what Mr. DeBeck was saying is this could, if it's not real specific, it can open it up to a wider range. However, I also realize that the Superintendent Search Committee is the actual committee that is going to sift through all of these applications anyway. So in terms of the screening process, I think you're the people that are going to do it anyway. So I think it's acceptable the way that it's currently written.
Okay, so we've got a motion and a second about changing the word desirable to required. Can we vote on that, please? Okay, that passes 3-2. And then, Mr. DeBeck, do you want to propose an addition to get to your point about
I think
large,
the message above a 5 years experience is okay, but I think we need to say equivalent to, a school district or something. But it's all right. I can live with this.
Okay.
It says, okay.
Comparable,
okay.
maybe comparable to a large.
Can we get a motion and a second then to accept the job description as amended?
I so move.
I just recommend the word comparable to a large culture. I think that gets after what he's trying to say.
Where are you, Catherine?
Just experience which demonstrates the knowledge, skills, abilities equivalent to at least 5 years' experience in senior management of a large, complex organization, comparable to a large.
Okay.
Because otherwise, I think that that's a little less vague.
Do this procedurally. Can you do that as a motion?
I make a motion.
It's acceptable.
Did you catch that, Mr. Anderson?
I second the motion.
It's
All
not.
in favor?
The motion, the amendment.
We vote usually by pushing button.
Okay.
I know that that's substantive, but I think it helps.
Okay.
I second that.
Got a motion and a second to approve as amended. Please vote.
And then finally, I just want to thank again the search committee.
Yeah.
We really do appreciate all of your work and your discussions, and I know you've had some lively ones. So thank you very much.
It's a pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you for your work. Thanks, Cindy. Great. Okay, item FO6, a proposal to change the term of Kevin Alvin, who we just appointed.
Move approval.
Okay, great. And on to item FO8, the ratification of the MOU with SDEA. We did in closed session, so this is actually a report out.
Sure, move approval, just do it.
Second.
Yeah. You'll just vote.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. No. Okay, terrific. Okay, on to student instructional matters. Item GO1.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, and we've got a speaker on this. Alan Svidal.
Not here.
Nope, not here. Okay, so we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, please vote. Okay, GO2, recommendation for a general education summer school program in 2010.
Option D, move approval.
No, okay.
Okay, we've got a motion for...
Option D.
Okay.
Is that's the staff recommendation?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, option D, the staff recommendation. Okay.
Okay.
And can we get a second, and then we can do discussion?
Is option D? Where's option D? I see A, B, C, 2.
It's at the very bottom, the very...
Oh, okay.
D. It's because it's inclusive of every...
Right. We've got a motion for option D. Do we have a second?
Moment.
Okay.
So can we talk about
I'm trying to see.
We don't have a second yet.
Well, we can talk about the idea.
It's in a D. Are you finding a D?
Or are you going to wait? We're not
I will second the motion.
All right.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, I have D now.
Go ahead.
Okay. I'm going to give you all this. Wait a minute. Yeah, I thought I had enough for... Yeah, there they are. And then you can at least see what I'm talking about. Okay? That's okay. Give it to whoever wants it. There isn't any evidence of the effect. This is going to cause a lot of ruckus. I'm not worried about it. I got to be straight about it. There isn't any evidence in the exhibit at all about the effectiveness of summer school at all. And the only thing that's there is teacher opinion. And if I asked the teachers that they want to work at summer school, I bet I got the answer. So then the question is, do students do better as a result of it? And I want to compliment those people that came forward with the report that they ran out a little time. This
AYD.
Yeah. It was an acronym, AYD. They had actual research and data. Well, here we have a school promoting something they want to do with research and data, but we've got a whole school system that believes that we ought to just ratify a decision to have summer school because it's good for kids, like apple pie and motherhood and all that stuff. But we don't have any evidence about the results of summer school at all. Okay, but we do have some data which I gave you guys last time in another venue, but I'll talk to you about it today, and I've only taken the 8th grade stuff out. The district's reports, not my reports, but the district's own reports of CST and retention for the 8th grade show that the 8th grade far below basic in English language arts is 8.1%. It also shows the 8th grade far below basic in math is 10.4%. But the retention and our promotion data, the retention data is less than 1%. Now, if I was trying to sell you the idea of having summer school, I would have followed up with the evidence that summer school changed this information. But the evidence is not there, and it's not available because it didn't happen. So the argument is, if we've instituted social promotion as these data support, then why do we spend $4.6 million on an unproven program what we call summer school? Now, you could say, well, it's good for kids. Yeah, it's good for kids, but why are we in the business of spending money on unproven programs? And we've said for, I don't know how long we've said, we want to really have data. We have the data to prove that summer school doesn't work, but it's not here. I'd rather just put this down until we got the data and say, okay, no, we don't make the decision on summer school today. We wait until we get the data. If the data doesn't show that we have made any gains on summer school, then we have to rethink how we deliver summer school. Because if we keep doing the same things over and over again, that's sort of the definition of insanity. I'm done.
Okay, Ms. Jackson.
Yes, and I thank Nellie for coming to the podium. Maybe the fact is just on page 5 and page 6 and 7 that you didn't provide the numbers, but I do know that earlier in the year, I would say in the school year, we did get an update on summer school. They did do a pre and they did do a post, and we did get information about that. So we do have evidence that our summer school programs have been working. But I just want to remind you that we did do that earlier.
Yes, and first of all, I can speak to what data perhaps would improve this. First of all, 3 categories as a general program, and I'm going to focus on the 8th grade to 9th grade. The students who didn't come, we need to measure and see where they are and track them as they go to 9th grade. The students that came and passed, we need to track them at 8th grade and see, even though they passed, if, as Mr. DeBeck is referring, they remain far below basic, that doesn't show that it's evidence that it works. And so I agree with that. The third group that we need to measure are those that came to summer school and didn't pass. And so all 3, and this is just one snapshot in the middle of the 8th to 9th grade transition, are things that as a system we can go back and look at and measure to see where they correlate between the grade and how they're doing in their freshman year. In response to Ms. Jackson's comments regarding the assessment, within the report you can see that at the elementary, middle, and high school, actually elementary and middle, they did a pre and post at each of the levels. So you can see that there's reference to the percentage gain in English language arts as well as mathematics in English and also at elementary, and at middle. At high school, one of the main measurements that we're using is completion, and it's not the most holistic method to be assured. However, we are looking for graduation, and the students who are making up their credits 9th through 12th grade need to do so, and we have seen a correlate to an increase in the graduation rate. I certainly agree with the comments that an evaluation that is perhaps more thorough and tracks students all the way up would add to this. I do see evidence that summer school has had a positive effect on our students.
I have a question. I'm just trying to see here. I'm just looking at this really quickly now. Sorry, I didn't see it before. On the first chart, it has elementary 1 and 3, the ones that were recommended for retention and scoring below and far below. But is there a follow-up on how they were doing the following year?
There's a pre and post at the beginning of summer and after, and then that information is passed on to the teacher that then takes the student in the next grade level. So the follow-up occurs within the school with the teacher in the classroom, and they are aware that they went to that summer school intervention.
Okay, so that for the individual student, the information is taken as passed on to teachers, which is really the most valuable. But correct. I guess for reporting purposes, we don't have a way of measuring what those 4 weeks in summer school did for the group as a whole.
The group as a whole, that needs to be measured. We did measure their proficiency rates to see the increase in the English and the math skills.
Okay, I'm evidently on the wrong page. Okay.
Page 4.
But there's a correlation problem between that data and the California state tests that's significant. I mean, you could say, how many kids passed? Okay, they all passed. So then they all came out, I'm not going to, this is maybe an exaggeration, but 25% of the kids that passed are on far below basic on the California State Standard Test. What kind of victory is that?
Well, I think that last year, and it may have been last year, the first year that we did our pre and post test.
Correct.
And so I think to get to your point, Mr. DeBag, we recognize, I say we, the district recognized that we weren't looking closely at the benefits of summer school. So last year we put in a pre and a post so that we could see whether or not it was being beneficial, and the assessments. So those scores, what you see here for the mathematics piece on page 4. But that's the growing process. We find, as you just mentioned, we find out things that are not working, and we find ways to fix them. And so, but in order to move forward, I think we need to continue with that process and making sure that when we do have summer schools and other programs, there is a pre and there is a post, so we know whether or not it's being beneficial or not.
Nakamura?
Yeah, I think that I'd like to have some better data. We are really in a tight spot. Is there any reason why this has to be voted on today? Can we wait?
We do have some timeline constraints regarding initiating the post and bid to find teachers for the summer school program, and currently it's approximately 2 months later than it has been in the past. I can share regarding the data in elementary, for example. It states that 62% of the students achieved a gain of 1 grade level in reading pre and post summer school. And you can also see that the data shows that 79% of the students in the pre and post in mathematics in elementary school showed math achievement. And so the correlation between the CST certainly could be something that we look at, but the building blocks of vocabulary and the math skills showed significant increases.
One of the issues that I've talked to folks about is the students at Memorial did summer school at Roosevelt this summer, and there's a preference to be able to do it at Memorial. Is that possible under this plan, or is the plan that the students would still need to come up to Roosevelt?
The locations of the schools, as they'll be determined, the extreme details of that, I'm looking for Lisa. Lisa? If you could perhaps explain what a shift would do. Thank you.
last year, the kids that went from Memorial up to Roosevelt wanted to take part in the AYD class, and Memorial was not a chosen summer school site because it was transitioning from a charter to a district school, so we were advised not to use that site last year. This year, to try and save costs, we've been asked to try and piggyback on the sites that have already been selected as special ed sites. So in order to save costs, and if we go ahead and approve the summer school program for the general ed, we were going to try and look at the numbers and try and use the sites that had already been designated. Memorial was not one of those sites. Roosevelt is. So we can look at it. The final sites haven't been determined. We'll look at it after we approve today, or if it gets approved today, and look at what the numbers are and how many kids qualify.
Yeah, I'd appreciate it if you take a look at that. Yeah, thanks. Okay, Mr. Koba?
Just to add to Nellie's comment there, I think we recognized last year was the first time we'd done the pre and post. We recognize that we need to tighten that up and recognize what Mr. DeBeck has already said about getting the hard data. We certainly have factored that in. You know, at one point earlier this year, with the uncertainty of the budget, we were actually looking at options for summer school between 0 and whatever the maximum could have been, which is well in excess of $6 million. And it's a difficult conversation to have when you're trying to balance dollars in education with obviously the emphasis on the latter. I think what we've tried to do here is earlier the board, a couple months ago, approved the special education schedule because it was critical that we make that aware to the parents and the impacted children. I think that we can't afford to delay any further piggybacking, and we have spent a little bit of time since second interim trying to validate the funding that could be used for this general ed program. I think if we connect the two of them now, we reassess the locations. I think your point about Memorial, President Barrera, is well taken, and we go forward with a commitment that the pre-post surveying and the hard data goes to the next level or two in order to bring the board something that's meaningful about the impact of summer school.
Vince?
I don't know this about a lot of other schools, but I know that at my school, for summer school, it's more of a catching up as opposed to getting ahead as far as like students receiving Ds. For myself personally, I repeated 2 classes from middle school and freshman year, replacing 2 Ds with a B and an A in summer school. And so I would say recommend at the very least to keep it for the students that need to catch up.
Thank you, Vince. Ms. Nakamura?
Yeah, I really I have to say this, and I think it is truly tragic. There was an RSS feed on my computer yesterday, and it was talking about a summer enrichment program for kids during school, and that's certainly the summer school experience that I had. And so I'm sitting here looking on Google. I thought I could Google what the California school district was, and the article that I read had some sort of a grant that they received. So I'm sitting here Google while we're talking. And here's Encinitas Union School District, Summer Enrichment Academy, just up the road in Encinitas. And, you know, they have some really amazing classes, an art safari, blast off into science, go green, art and sciences, God and Goddesses, Greek Mythology 101, just amazing classes that light up a child's world instead of turning these into these gulags that we have where it's simply math, science, history, and I have to make up this class, where it's nothing but pure drudgery. Performing arts with Miss Horn, Ready, Set, Go, Students versus Wild, Want to be an author and an illustrator. These are all classes that they're offering up in Encinitas. We should have programs like that during the summer in our district as well. Have we looked at grants? Have we looked at something instead of where, I'm not saying that you don't have to just make up the summer school course where there's a class that you have to make up, but something else. These are students that are frequently so disengaged and that are so, school is drudgery for them in so many instances already. Isn't there some way, and I know in this budget climate, people have got to be shaking their heads and saying, Mrs. Nakamura's got to be nuts, but, put a little sweet with, the medicine. Makes the, Edison go down a little easier. But this is right up the road in Encinitas, and they've got it through 6th grade and high school and all sorts of different academies. So I had to get on my soapbox and bring that up, but it seems like that's something we just don't talk about here, where, classes are fun and broadening and exciting and not necessarily all about getting that grade, improving the GPA, improving our CST scores within the district, making sure the adults all look good. Okay, off my soapbox.
Okay.
A question for the superintendent. In terms of why we are looking at this point, in terms of the funding, the $4.6 million state supplemental tier 3 and Title I, these are amounts that have already been incorporated into the budget that we have tentatively.
Yes, right. We have identified and earmarked this money for summer school pending the approval of the board.
Okay, so this is not adding anything on.
Okay, so we've got a motion and a second to approve the recommended option D. Please vote. Okay, great. Thank you, Nellie.
Thank you.
Just for the records, the students over here agree with me that these are really fabulous courses. So I have empirical evidence that students would like this.
We also have a 21st Century grant that provides summer programs, and we can come in the future to give a report.
Right. That's right. Okay, good. Item GO3, approval of the school improvement grant for the QEIA.
Do you want to clear that?
Oops.
Mrs. Ford's trying to say something.
I just wanted to ask you if you wanted to take any action on the second recommendation that staff brought forward to you.
Let me go back to
GO2.
Oh, yes. I move approval that we modify the retention promotion policy.
Somebody speak to that a little bit, Superintendent.
Okay. Let's see. Here we go. The second portion of this recommendation is in regard to the summer after this next summer. And the recommendation is due to the state's financial uncertainty for the next 2011, 2012, 2011 summer, that the school requirement that the district have summer school in conjunction with the promotion retention policy be suspended until budgetary allowances make it otherwise.
So if we do not suspend this, then we are locked into doing what in the summer of 2011?
We in the current promotion retention policy at grade levels 1, 3, and 8, we require summer school as an intervention in order to succeed and pass on to the next grade. And as was mentioned, approximately 1% of our students who participate are then held back.
The question I have there is what is the need to make that decision at this point, as opposed to this time next year?
The timeline is completely different for the second item, and so the need is that this occur prior to this time next year.
I mean, the current situation is that students know they will be required to take summer school if they're not performing, and I don't see any reason to lift that in advance when we don't know. I don't see what the advantage is of suspending it at this point.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I can see the intent, but I don't agree with it. And the idea that we have to offer the summer program because we are requiring it in order not to be retained is a stretch. It's possible that we would say that in order to go forward, you would have to take a summer school, and it's also possible that we wouldn't be able to afford a summer school. So therefore, knowing that in advance, the kid would say, I got to pass, or if they don't offer summer school, I'm going to be retained. But see, there's nothing in this that says the district's forced to offer summer school. In this policy, that isn't it. It says the kid has to take a summer school. If there's not one available, then I guess that's one of those things that happens. So I can't personally, I don't want to water, this is bad enough as it is, I don't want to water down our standards more just because we may not be able to afford something. The issue is, what do we care? Do we care about whether kids meet standards or not, or do we want to just do away with retention altogether because we don't have money? My personal view on that is I'm going to hold the standards first. And I agree with Dr. Evans that we shouldn't suspend this policy, and I won't vote for it.
Okay, so does anybody want to make a motion to suspend the policy? No. Sounds like no action right now.
Okay.
Yep. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, GO3.
Move approval.
Can we get a second? The QEIA.
Is this IO3?
Yeah.
Right, this is Z.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay, we got a motion to second. Please vote. Okay. Okay, and then item HO1. This is the public hearing and adoption of a resolution to dedicate an easement and right-of-way upon district-owned property to the city of San Diego.
Move approval, and it requires a supermajority. So it's a 4-vote requirement.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Yep. Mrs. Nakamura.
This is for Wagenheim. Yes. This is for cell phone, excluding other. Oh, this is just for the easement, excluding digital, cellular, other mobile communications. Okay, I did misunderstood this when I read it the first time.
Second reading, so.
Okay.
Okay, please vote. Okay, good. And the superintendent's consent agenda. Does any board member wish to pull any items? We have no speakers.
I only had one item, and if I could speak to it, I think I'd probably include it back in the. Okay. If the question was answered, I think we've got staff here to answer it. So, the issue is a turf.
What's the number?
I've got it somewhere here. I'm sorry about it, but it's a turf agreement. Rolling it over. Stu, you know what it is? It's on the consent, and I had it aside, and then I somehow got mixed up in something I threw away. But it has to do with re-upping the agreement for turf. Okay. And
I-22.
I-22, thank you.
Field turf.
Yeah, field turf. The issue for me is not the re-up, but is whether or not there is a set standard for the field turf. That is, the warranty, the quality of it is assured in this, that we're not going to end up with, a substandard product. And if this is just continuing high standard turf, I don't have a problem. If it's just rolling over a deal we made for some bad turf, I don't know if I'm thrilled. So tell me about it.
No, sir. This is the district standard. We've done a tremendous amount of research going a number of years back on this product, and they've been extraordinarily responsive to us across the board. It's a wonderful product. It's the industry standard now. The professional teams use it. I'm very, very happy with it.
I believe you. Moving approval of all the consent items.
Our consent agenda. Do we have a second?
Pull one.
We've got. Okay, which one do you want to pull?
I-17.
Okay, we're going to pull I-17. So then, can we get a motion to...
That's for everything but I-17?
Yes.
We get a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, I-17, Dr. Evans.
Okay, on I-17, I actually just want to make a comment, and actually, first of all, to commend the staff for doing this in terms of looking. This is a situation where we might spend a little bit of money to actually save some money, and particularly in these tight budget times, this is really important. And I know that this is about workers' compensation, and in workers' compensation, the best way that you can reduce your costs and also also increase the safety and well-being of your employees is to intervene as quickly as possible. So evidently there was a plan here that would add a company nurse who's available on the phone that would direct people very quickly to the right type of service that they need. And so I would ask Superintendent too to watch this, because while it is a good idea to really see if we can achieve the savings that it looks like it will produce. So I move for approval on this one.
It's a pretty expensive nurse.
Yeah, that was. It's a program. I'm sure that involves more than just the nurse.
Can we get a second?
Well, I want that job. But
Can we get a second? Is that
I'll second it. I honestly don't believe that the dollar amount is a nurse.
No, it's not.
But
it's a program.
But it's a program agreement, so there are services involved beyond just a nurse. But see, the way it says on the exhibit, it says we're amending it to add a company nurse, and then the cost is $217,000. Right. So somebody's going to blow up in the community if they don't know what the rest of it is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we've got a motion.
It's an 800 service that employees could call into, and part of the benefit is that we have a lot of people that don't file claims or they don't know where to go to. So this would be a 24-hour service that employees could call, and the nurse would direct them to the proper services and making sure that the paperwork is submitted, and so it would also help our workman's comp claims as well.
But what else happens besides the hiring of a nurse and answering of a phone?
It's a 24-hour medical service as well, so they also help provide support. Like, if they need to should go to the urgent care, the ER, and
that money comes out of this?
Out of the workman's comp fund.
But this is
that $200,000 is the nursing service. It's not a nurse per se.
All right.
It's the providing the referral service and following up on it. The projected annual savings is $1.2 million. I don't know what our total workers' comp budget is, but that's a pretty significant savings that we're trying to go for. So I just want that to be monitored.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please vote. Okay, that passes 3-1. Okay, we are adjourned to upstairs. Yep.
Yes.
I just hope that we get a better. I know I didn't get my way, but I hope we get a much better report on summer school.
I think we will.
Yeah.
I think they heard that on page. Bit by bit.